I need something to drink. Ooh, wow, look at me going live. All righty. We are live. So I'm going to say this as Tony Wade, the compassionate investor. We're going to try to do this. I am excited for being here, though, because it's an opportunity for me to connect with you, those of you who watch and follow me. Thank you for following, I'll just say, and looking forward to answering a lot of your questions. Wow, this is great. It's good to see you guys. I see as people are coming on. Gonna take my time and let people come on and ask their questions. Oh wow. Okay. Hi everybody. How are you doing? All right. Oh, it's great to see you. Haven't seen you in a minute. Oh, that's awesome. Great to have you. Oh wow. So this is Tony Wade, the compassionate investor. I'm sort of winding down from my day. It's been a long day, but thought I would jump on for a live. I want to figure out how I can share this also in my school community. If you've not joined my school community, this is the time to join tonyschool.com. That's TONISKOOL.com. When you join, you'll be with other purpose driven leaders who want to get into this transitional housing space. And let me tell you, this is the best place to be in, especially if you truly want to make a difference in someone's life. This is the best place to be and to be in our community. Oh, it's good to see you too. I'm so glad to see you guys coming on. But I want to make sure that we answer some questions. So it says I'm ready for questions. I see people typing. Go ahead and ask me whatever questions you've got as it relates to transitional housing, because that's what I specialize in. I have done all kinds of housing, and I'm excited about being able to help you navigate this if you are new in this space. So, oh, here's a question that just came in. And this one is around keeping it financially sustainable long term. So the question is, how do I keep my program financially sustainable long term? So, when you're in this space of transitional housing, the biggest thing that you have to do, because you can't focus in one funding source, you have to be diversified and you have to focus more than just on the rent. Because if you focus on what they're bringing in, you're going to get to the point where either someone's not going to pay or you're not going to be able to have the resources that you need to come in. And now here you got potentially a mortgage that you have to pay and make sure it gets paid. So definitely diversifying your funds so that it is at a point where you've got money coming in. And if any of you participated in my 5-day challenge, we talk about this in great detail, talking about how you can diversify your funds, you layer it in a way so that you've got multiple sources coming in. And I'm learning new ways that we can also create more funding that I'm looking forward to sharing with you on our 5-day challenge. But at the end of the day, when you're creating a program and to have it be financially sustainable for a long period of time, you have to think about how you're going to layer that. And you have to think about how you can keep your costs lean without compromising the quality that you're creating in your program. And as you hear me talk about, I'm always focused on people getting the programming of like literally, what is it that you wanted to do? And then when you say you're going to do that, how are you going to get there? And what is the cost associated with that? So when you keep your costs lean, you then can create success for yourself as it relates to bringing those funds in. Now, I also mentioned that as you're thinking about your programming, you have to have a very high occupancy rate as well. So if you have a program that calls for 7 to 8 individuals to be there, you want to make sure you are at 90% or better when it comes to being occupied. And honestly, fully occupied. So depending on which niche you go for, because I do like to create programs around a specific niche, I want to make sure that it's something that is going to allow me to be 100% occupied at all times. So as you think about those things, it will allow for your program to sustain over a long period of time. And I would encourage you that as you're doing that, make sure that you are building reserves for those unexpected expenses. And we talk about how to do that as you're walking through your budget and your planning in this space. You want to make sure you're doing that well. We talk about that in great detail in a lot of the training that we offer in our school community. Great question. Here's another question. How do I prepare for a funding audit? So, I've never had a funding audit to the extent of, well, I actually have. I take that back. I have had an audit, actually. And so let's talk through that. I completely forgot about the audit that I had to have. So, and I'll talk about it to you in the terms of what I didn't have so that you're preparing yourself for an audit. And I think it's important to learn how to live vicariously through people like me so that you can be in better position for what you need to create. First and foremost, when you are getting funding, especially if you're getting funding from a nonprofit agency, right? You want to make sure you understand, first of all, what is required. What do they require of you to submit to them on a regular basis to be paid? Because once you understand that, and I would say even push back further, because as I said, from my past experiences, I had been given, in this particular situation, I had been giving all of the documentation that was required of me for almost 2 years. And in that 2 year period, nothing came up different until all of a sudden they said I needed something. That I was like, what? I've never provided that before. Those are the things that can catch you off guard. So make sure you know upfront what the requirement is of you when you are getting funding from someone that, especially a nonprofit, or even if it was, whatever funding source you were getting, make sure you know what they're requiring of you up front. And then make sure that all of your stuff is documented well. Make sure if they're telling you you need A, B, C, and D and not E, you probably want to still have E ready. Give them everything they need: A, B, C, D, and E. Think about even the things that they don't ask for. Consider the things that you might need to provide, because at the end of the day, if an audit happens, you need to be prepared, and they're going to be looking for their receipts. They're going to be looking for everything to be in order and structured the way that they are wanting to receive it. Because once you do that, and I'll just say this: a good funder, somebody who is knows what they're doing, they know what to ask for, they know day one when you get it, that first month you're going to know exactly what to expect. So in my past experience, because I learned the hard way that I didn't have what I didn't have like 2 years later. So but it taught me in another contract, because I had an amazing funder. I knew day one what to expect. We've had no issues. We moved seamlessly through the process. So I would just tell you, make sure you understand what is required of you, and then make sure that all of your documentation is lined up perfectly. You want to make sure that it's all up to date. Every report that's required of you, you have it, and that you can provide whatever they need when they ask for it. Now, typically, when they're wanting their information, they want it day one sent to them. So send it. I wouldn't hold anything back. Send them exactly everything that you're supposed to send. It's not rare. It's not something that you get on a regular basis of things that you didn't expect to get. So I will just tell you to do your due diligence in understanding what documentation you need to provide, and then have that readily available. And I would make sure that your staff is trained. If you do have staff or individuals that are working your paperwork, they understand what procedures you need to follow if audited. And I can say this too before I close this question out. After that experience, I have learned so much about how to do and deal with funders who may not know everything that they need to know. And I now request additional things just to make sure I was not missing a beat. And we could talk about that privately if you guys have some other questions about how that works, because you want to make sure that not only are you fully aware of what is expected of you, but you need to sometimes think outside the box, especially if the funder had, it's a new funder you've never worked with before, and they might not have their things together. Here's a question. How do I prevent conflict between residents? Wow. This is a heavy hitter too. And this is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. And I will say this, a lot of people in this space of transitional housing, they don't talk about the conflict. They don't talk about the issues that come forward. But there are issues. You need to expect there to be issues, and you need to mitigate for that. So I've spent a lot of time developing documentation or SOPs around specific conflict, and I'll go over just some of them briefly here. If you want more information, I encourage you to join our school community at tonyschool.com. That's TONISKOOL.com. And when you join, go into the classroom. I do have SOPs available for those who want to access them in our community. They are available to you, as well as smaller versions if you want something a little more condensed. But at the end of the day, my goal is to make sure that the residents don't have conflict. Because once you understand what conflict brings to a property, it can bring nuisance, it could bring violations, it could bring people leaving the property because there's conflict. It could bring a potential, like, you need to be prepared for anything that comes to you when there is a conflict. So I would tell you, making sure that you have very clear, non negotiable rules from day one. So there's no misunderstanding about what is required. When it's clear, they will understand what is expected. And I would encourage you, because I'm consistently reinforcing messaging around that, to make sure that those rules stay firm, that they're reiterated multiple times, and that there is an understanding about what the rules are and what the consequences are when there is a conflict. And that right there is key to your success in this business. Because if you don't know how to deal with conflict in a transitional home and how to mitigate for that, you might need to build up your skill set in that, or think about doing something different, because you're going to have conflict. But how you deal with it up front dictates whether it's this much or this much. Because your goal is to be right here, maybe non existent, because you've set very good expectations. And I can tell you, because of the expectations we've created, we barely have any issues, especially, depending on our population that we serve as well. Those dictate also the level of conflict that could actually happen also. So I would just encourage you to set those clear, non-negotiable rules up day one, and re-communicate that on a regular basis. Also, making sure that you've provided some type of orientation for individuals when they come in, so they know what to expect when they get with you. They know what to expect in your property. They know what to expect in your program. They know what to expect in every aspect of what you are doing for them. So providing that orientation helps make them feel comfortable in knowing what your expectations are, and making sure your staff is well, they have the understanding of what your expectations are. And when I say staff, I use that term loosely, because some of you will have volunteers working with you. Some of you will have individuals that you will hire who help you. But at the end of the day, You want to make sure they understand what the expectations are and that they are strong mediators, because without mediation, yeah, it can go south really fast. And your goal is to make sure that things are intervened soon rather than later to prevent things from escalating. So, when you can create that type of environment, which we do really well with our residents, that will ensure that the conflict is kept low, your property is nice and quiet, and people are successfully completing the programming that you set up. So, you want to be able to do that. All right. Oh, well, hello. I ain't seen you in a minute. Okay. All right, here's your question. Okay. And this one makes sense. So, can I run a transitional housing program while working full time? So let me say this. Yes, you can. You can still work your job and still do this. It will require you to have your systems fully in place. So where you might not have, um, uh, let's say, if you're at work, you need to make sure that someone can respond if there is a need. And so establishing someone on site or a house manager and making sure that they're very well trained is probably going to be your first point of managing the property for you while you're doing a full-time job. And then it can be done. And I think we did as many as, let me see, 2012. So I may have ran maybe a matter of 15, 20 residents before while I was still working a full-time job. And it's very doable. And if I was not fired, I probably still would have done it for as long as I could have. And the way because we had our system so solid that we were able to do that very well. And it started with establishing first somebody that we trained really well to make it work. And of course, I had some trial and error. I don't want to give you the impression that right out the bat, we was hitting out home runs. We weren't. We was, you know, foul foul balls left and right, but we learned how to create this well. And that's why I'm able to talk about this, because I know some of the errors that most people make in this space, and I help prepare you so you don't make the same mistakes. A lot of it comes from having a lot of your automation already done. We automate practically 80-90% of what we do is automated. So it makes it a lot easier when it comes to managing a property. If it's mostly automated, then you don't have, like, you literally could manage, we were managing as high as 10 properties because of the automation that we had with a very small team. So it's very doable and very manageable. So I would just encourage you, if you are working a full-time job, you might want to consider reaching out and having me as your mentor to help create some of these systems for you so you can do it and you still have your job. And what would be amazing if they can work together in some way, we can show you how to do that as well. And you want to make sure that you have clear protocols set up in case of emergency, so that people know what will happen if there is an emergency and you're at work, so that that manages smoothly. But I want to just encourage you to be realistic in what you create. Be realistic about your time and the energy that it's going to take to put this together, especially if you're working a full-time job, because you want to be able to move that forward. All right. Let's just do one more question for the night. And then if we'll probably just keep it at one more question. Any other questions? This here is where the rubber hits the road with everything that you're learning with me. I like the questions that you ask. I want to be able to answer them for you as they come in, and then we will continue this every week. I'll talk about some of that on the back end. Okay. This is a good question. Thank you for sharing this one. I appreciate it. It says, how do I handle pushback from neighbors or the community? So we've had this one happen a few times, and I can tell you your biggest thing here is that you want to make sure that you going into a neighborhood that people understand your mission. And depending on the population that you're serving, because that's why it's so critical that you choose the right niche that you can really speak to, and getting this in a space of why. Like a lot of people want to get into this transitional housing space because they think there's a lot of money involved and they're going to make a whole lot of money. Everyone's paying two, three, $4,000 a person to stay in the property, and not understanding this is not about money. This is about purpose. This is about why are you wanting to do this? This is about transformation. So we really want to focus on that, because when you can understand your mission, then it makes sense. Someone's not going to, and I can just tell you right now, people who get pushback for people coming into the community is because they're coming in there just opening what they call in their minds a boarding house, rooming house, group home. Like, I'm just being real. They're all categorized the same. And they're like, we're not having that, because they think of it in such a negative connotation when it isn't. So, you helping people understand your mission going into it. But guess what? You might not even understand your mission. That's why coming to someone like me, my job is to pull that out of you. My job is to really help you frame that in a way where it truly can sustain long term. But understanding that first is critical. And then as you understand like what that is, and I'll help you frame it. Like, you might not fully understand it, or there might be something you don't see that I see. And as you share things with me about where you want to go, that's why it's so important to have that nailed down. Because once you have that nailed down, you can then talk, you could talk in any group, in front of any forum, about what your mission is. And that's what you really, that's key. When you can truly speak from your heart about why you do what you do and why you're doing this in their neighborhood, they're going to understand it. And guess what? They're going to have compassion. That's what this is at the end of the day. We're compassionate investors. We are purpose driven leaders who want to be able to speak to transforming someone's life. So when you can do that well, and people understand where you're coming from, that's the power that you're going to have. So you want to do that. And then, of course, how you present the property. Like, once you actually get into a neighborhood, then you must do what you say you're going to do. Don't say you're going to do something and you're not going to do it, because that ain't going to look good. But making sure the property's presentable, making sure it stays clean, making sure the yard is done, making sure there's certain things that you don't let the residents do while they're there. We talk about all that stuff, because my job is to keep it down and quiet where we're going to be. And that's what we do really well, so that there is no pushback from a neighborhood. There is no pushback from the community, because you've done what you said you're going to do. And you might end up helping some of the people in the neighborhood. That's the beauty of what you're creating. And when you can do that, and when you can share positive, impactful stories about the success that you're creating in your transitional housing program, that's when you'll get the respect that you deserve. That's when you will get everything that you need for what you're creating. And then you'll be able to deal with any issue that anyone brings to you in the community. Now, if an issue does come, don't ignore it. Sit down and comfortably talk to someone. Address it quickly and respectfully. When you do that well, and I mean from the heart, and you do it quickly and swiftly with respect, they're going to hear you, and they're going to meet you where you are, and you hopefully will come up with solutions that will serve that community. So I hope answering these questions, you guys gave some good questions today. I hope that by answering those questions, you were able to see what is possible, and what is possible for you to be able to create. And as you're doing this work, because I want to encourage you, if you liked this format, please let me know. Number one, give me feedback, please, because I am excited about meeting more and more people who are purpose driven leaders that want to do this work. That is where my heart is. And the more people I reach wanting to do this, then we can truly transform this world, because things are going to get tough. You think it's tough now? It's going to be tougher in the next few years. And we have to get ahead of this. I want us getting ahead of this so that we can really make an impact with people. So, with that being said, I want to encourage you to join my school community. first give me feedback. Answer as much as you can about what you think about this format, number one. Number two, if you've not joined my school community, please do so at tonyschool.com. That's TONISKOOL.com. And when you join, you will be able to be around other purpose driven leaders who want to transform this world through transitional housing and learn how to scale it and build wealth for yourself. We can do all of that all in this same forum. And then, lastly, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Subscribe and get the notifications because as things are happening, we will be able to fully take this to the next level. I do see one other question. Oh, Monica. Oh, gosh. So, this is what I'm going to do, Monica. I think you're in my community. Ask me the question in the community. I'll come back because I was only trying to stay on for a little bit and I caught it at the tail end. I'm sorry I missed your question, but definitely join my school community so we can get the questions answered for you and be able to do this. We're going to do this every week at this time. So if you can mark your calendar, be looking out for me. I'm going to be coming on live. So we're going to be answering your questions live and I'm going to look forward to answering them, but I'm only going to do it for 30 minutes. So make sure you come in first. Make sure you come in early. I think this is a good time. Well, this might be a little late, but I'm thinking about maybe 7:30, but just be looking for the notifications because I'll come on live and then be sure, Monica, to ask me the question in our community so that I can make sure I answer that for you. And I see you're from Indiana. You're right next door to me. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all a little better and a little more. And I look forward to you guys coming back on again next week around the same time, maybe an hour earlier. So be looking out on Wednesdays. This will be a new time when we're starting to meet to answer your questions live. Look forward to seeing you guys then. Take care.